Tell me, let's talk on camera about that thing we were talking about the other day at Liverpool, which is when we were all younger, we didn't expect our rock stars. They seemed to have a shelf life. And now it would seem, we talked about Cliff Richard the other day with this on camera, yourselves, Paul McCartney, Elton John, Cliff Richard, you're almost like part of our national heritage rather than just being a rock and roll band.
I don't know if that's good or bad, because we all started out as kind of what we thought was rebellious, and then you're trying to make it, so I suppose by the very virtue that you're trying to make it into an establishment which you're already kind of anti it because you want to change it, and then ultimately you become it. We've become establishment, if you like. But the thing that none of us were going to survive, it was all new. I suppose some people see it as new in the 50s because of Elvis and all that. I'm not really that. I kind of missed Elvis, sorry. Little Richard, Everly Brothers, things like that. But me, it was the Beatles, the Stones, all that's that era. And you know what it's like with young people, you just don't think you're going to get to this. And if you don't, you're dead. So you should get to this, you should aspire to. We were talking about this yesterday, why life has that thing that we don't... If life was different, that we were always indoctrinated when we were young with this, oh, look at the way Grandma's got these lovely wrinkles and her face is saggy, isn't that beautiful? If we were taught that all the time, we would aspire to become looking like this. I know it's hard to believe. But nobody was that old. At that point, there seemed to be a line between what went before, if you like, Elvis and us, and then the 60s guys. What went before, there seemed to be a definite line of, you know, electric music came in, tempo music came in, people writing their own songs came in, using bad grammar came in, singing in American came in. But it still didn't, you know, I think Lennon was quoted as saying they'd last 3 to 5 years. There's a famous interview with Jagger with Mickey Parkinson, or Mickey, with Michael Parkinson. And there's this very, and Mick's ever so nice. He's such a nice boy, you know. And I think he asked him how long you think it'll last. He think, well, probably at least another 18 months. And he wasn't pissing, he was genuine. That's because you couldn't see, apart from young people not be able to see too far, 5 years is a long time when you're 15 or when you're 20. But the entire world couldn't see it past that. It just didn't seem, and it still doesn't now if I think about it. While I'm looking at this, it's fine until I see this and then realise, oh my God, you look like that. You forgot you look like that. And everything, as I said, we're indoctrinated with that that's not good. In other cultures, surely the older people are revered for their knowledge and whatever else, and we are, you know, we're all born as a blank piece of paper, and you just keep filling these pages up. So when you ask somebody that's my age, if you ask them something, they've got shitloads of information, so loads of reference. But we never thought it. Just no one thought any of this would last. There was this inference that, i.e., maybe you got married and you grew up now, you've got children and a family. And I find that funny, a wife and a child's a family. It's a wife and a child, I believe. And all this thing what was supposed to grow. And loads of people used to say that, oh, no, I grew out of that. And you hear the odd person now still comes up and maybe says, oh, I saw you in 60 so-and-so or 70, and I did a little bit, but I grew up out of that. And to people in music, we're thinking, I beg your pardon? You grew up out of music as though this is, oh, it's only 4. So I don't know why it is. I'm glad that it is. I like to take the mickey out of Uncle Mick and Uncle Keith and Uncle Cliff, or Cirque, as we call him, Circliffe. But that's just on the jest. While they keep going out, it means it's okay for people like ourselves, and there seems to be more and more of the older things going out, and some people knock it, saying that we're doing it for our pensions, and what are you frigging lot doing? None of those are guaranteed anymore if you go the regular route, so of course we're all frightened of how we're going to manage. I think that's what's been happening to Cliff recently, he's suddenly realising, well, and I think all of us realise, how do I maintain this lifestyle if they keep moving the decimal point, when if I think I've got this in the bank and they move the decimal point, and it's... So I think we all get worried. That's a bloody long answer to a short question. You ain't got any shorter questions, have you? Fucking hell.
Let me see what you bring us on this one, because Rick was quite amusing. Many years ago, I did an interview with David
I'll get that, thank you.
And he was saying, he said, I don't know what it was. He said, one day I was in a hotel room, and I was having a shave, looking in the mirror. He said, there's all these screaming girls outside. He said, I just realised, hang on a minute, I'm him. it's me, I'm in.
Did Rick say this or David?
David said this. I'm in. Has there been a moment ever throughout your life where you've suddenly maybe looked in the bathroom mirror and gone, oh, okay, that's me, I am friends?
Oh, Rick has done it for years. I remember we were in De Montfort Hall in Leicester. That's a memory. And we were on the bill with Gene Pitney, who was a great guy. And used to have the sort of so-called stars dressing room and all that, because it's from old school, it's from where Rick came from. And it's like, wow, it must be fantastic behind that door. And I think that's the whole thing of show business. It must be great behind that door. You don't show them as just a room in there with a chair where the bloke sits and waits to go on. It's just fantastic. And every now and again, Rely will tell you that Rick would cuddly come and he'd go, I'm allowed in here. And he still remembers that from being out. Now, what was the question, sorry?
Well,
I did this before, didn't I?
Have you ever literally clock yourself in the mirror, or maybe
You get that occasionally. I realise I'm him sometimes, and I find him very embarrassing. So I learnt years ago not to look at him, what he says, what he does. I'm quite happy talking, as you've realised. And one of my daughters, the eldest one, Bernadette, who's done some tours with me and with Quote, I try and advise her and this, that and the other. You know, she's got a range like mine, very limited and so on. But I'll watch her and I'll see things, and I've said to her, oh, you shouldn't do a certain move, or shouldn't wear, or you shouldn't do. And then this was a couple of tours back and she was out with us. And I realised somehow I moved my leg or something and I did it, and I realised that's me. Now I've got to be real careful, because I thought she looked, and what I can see is me, so I now can't advise her. So there is a certain thing of I'm that person, but one has to be really careful, because may be quite important to so many people. Some people, as I said, maybe 4 million, 5 million around the world. There's 6.5 billion people. So in terms of importance, and again, this showbiz door makes everybody call they're very, very important. You know, you're ushered in, you're not seeing my people, there's security around you, which is 100% bullshit. But it's the way it's come about, and I'm that insecure little show, so half of me likes that and half of me doesn't. Half of me wants to be on here and be seen, the other half doesn't. Half of me really wants to go on that stage and the other half really doesn't. But if you take it off him, so that's where I think the insecure little panic goes on all the time. I'm still not even sure I've answered what he friggin' asked. Do you remember? You've got to keep prompting me, I think. Stay on course, love, stay on course.
I know this is a tricky one, but I've been trying to get an answer out of the original 40 for this. Should push come to shove at the very end, and one album had to sum up everything you've done, would there be anything you could put your finger on?
No, I think that would be a really sad career, don't you? I mean, to have been around this long and then say, yeah, that was the album, so you made 29 other ones that are a waste of space, and some people may feel that anyway. But perhaps on the level, I think we were getting a little bit better at recording then, of understanding it a little, and yeah, I think on the level, to me, because I like the commerciality of Status Quo, I don't really, the rock thing, which I have to a degree, I can't do this thing, which to me it's just 90, if 95% of this is bullshit, that's 120, when it's all, I just, it's like my testicles are fantastic, it's rubbish, you know, do it. Fine, do it, but we don't have to. But again, I'm contradicting, because it's another form of showbiz. When the heavy metalers and the thrashers do all that stuff they think is really serious, it's just another form of pantomime. And like one of your favourite acts, Kiss, you know, I can knock the hell out of that, and then the other side of me goes, my God, that's brilliant as well. It's one of the most brilliant things in this business, but it's also, to me, one of the most comedic. Especially seeing them getting out of that car that morning, 9 o'clock in the middle of New York. There's some fucking blokes in there, ridiculous. Have you seen this? Fucking boots on. This bloke walks in about 7 feet tall. Sorry, mate, nice to meet you. Who the fuck are you? Never seen. So it's a complete contradiction, the whole thing, and I don't know why I like it, why I'm in it. As I said, it probably validates my life in some way. It makes me ignore the fact that I didn't get an education, or I became Jack the Lad in class, because I was going to be in a band, and it was to escape that whole thing. As Keith Richards said, it was to escape all that thing that was going on. So unless the people that were there remember the grey, the bomb sites, the getting in, everything was so dismal here, and it seemed a way of escaping to something fabulous. And I think that's one of the things that Rick finds let down about it. He still thinks there's some other big secret behind the door that perhaps him and his mum used to, because his mum was very show busy. And I think perhaps sometimes Rick finds it a letdown in that respect. That where is it? It is much better to think, oh, it's fantastic in there. I can't wait to get in there. Oh, shit, no, I didn't want to get in there, did I? Oh, it's like I said to you, waiting for... We have lives now that are very much about expectations. I'm so looking forward to finishing next week. So looking forward to it. But I know as it gets to the night or so before, I should start thinking, oh... And I think you get these wonderful things go through the mind about waking up in the bus or being in the dressing room or and just stupid things. And it's going to get there and I'm here.
Let me just play devil's advocate a second on what you're saying there.
You're always fucking doing that.
You're saying, all right, you're saying you're looking forward to next week, looking forward to the next night.
Yeah.
You know and I know, you're going to get Christmas off and then
Yeah.
you're going to be in a studio somewhere on the road somewhere and you're going to be him again. So
yeah, well, that's probably that's probably part of it. If there was no next year, I might well be cacking my underwear. But the fact that it's always been there, and as I said to you before, I think all my children, my wives, they've been very lucky, particularly my current wife. I have to say that, dear. The status quo has been so important to the point where most people say, well, that's not really a parent, a father, a person, because it's been so much about this. And that's the only way I've known, is to protect that somehow. What did you ask me?
I'm just saying that you were saying, obviously by the end of next week, you don't.
Yeah.
You're only really.
Yeah, you're only done for a break. Yeah, that's the point. It's only for a break.
You're going to be in the studio or on stage.
Well, something. I'll be all right for a month or so. I think I'll get my routines. I've got some writing to do and blah 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 blah. But I think that's it. Is that you know that this is you're coming back to it. But my main point was is that I keep looking forward to whatever it is. And as I said, I think the entire planet has that thing now. This is why people are talking about trying to live now, the moment. And I'm so looking forward to it. But I know when it gets here, it'll be, oh, it's here. Oh. It was much better last week when I was thinking about it coming up. It's going to be great when I get there. I can see myself now milling around at home. Oh. And I always mill around at home when I get there. And I'll get there and go... I'm doing it. And I'm finding that difficult, that's all. Whether that's getting older or whether it's, as I said, part of today's life that we have this... You know most people out there are booking for their holidays or they're looking forward to Christmas or they're to the point where we're getting so much frigging debt that January is like... Which is why I don't want to go out in January. I better stop talking. Give me another question.
Let's take you back about any time, 10, 12, 14 years ago. What would you have thought if I'd have had a little crystal ball and sat next to you and said, you and Rick and Alan and John will be on a stage at Shepperton Studios
See, I laughed.
working together again?
Well, somebody asked me that, would you ever? I said, no, I never. And then, no, actually, I was about to say never, and I thought, well, you have to be realistic. And I am in that respect. If someone offered me enough money, and it made me laugh because the amount of money that went through my head was just fucking ridiculous. So it did make me realise that then you would, wouldn't you? And I think we're all like, but there's some people like to take the moral high ground, so you couldn't buy me from me. Yes, I could. There'll be enough, you just keep throwing enough zeros at it, you start thinking about your offspring, your grandchildren, your great-grandmother, everybody. You'll find a way. And that's what went through my mind. I thought, well, that's never going to happen. I wouldn't think Alan Lancaster would talk to me. And I thought his brother would want to kill me. And speaking to them, I don't know if I said to you before, I realised that they were so much part of my, when I was at 10, 11, 12 years old. They were fabulous people. I tried to be like, I'm watching you as much as, And I loved his mum for that. And I've got to go and see his mum again. And you saw the time we had out on camera recently, it was marvellous. I don't know what's happened to him. He's go, if I ever used to say anything about him being shorter than me or any of those, you didn't do those jokes with Alan. Now he just giggles. And so I found him immensely pleasurable to be with. I still have some difficulty with John, but I almost as though a barrier went up with John years ago, even when he was in the band. I was saying to Alan that I remember being sat on a bus with John going from Lambeth Walk to, while we were both going up towards Peckham, I don't know, we were going home from rehearsals. I remember that's the last time, I kept saying to Alan, it's the last time I remember looking at him thinking, he's a really nice bloke, really comfortable with him, and something happened some years later, whether us three ostracised him somewhat because we smoked a bit and he was only a drinker and Alan weren't drinkers, Rick wasn't much of a drinker then. I don't know what happened. I don't know. I'd like to be with John Coughlin where I am with Alan Lancaster. But maybe that's unfair. I never really was, so it's unfair to John, and he's the guy he is, you know. He's Spud. He's the Mad Turk. He's great.
So you enjoyed it then? You enjoyed Shepperton?
Yeah, I think so. Half of me, like Alan, thinks perhaps we should have rehearsed it and done it all, but that wouldn't be natural on camera. I didn't fancy that anyway. It doesn't make sense to put on camera. These guys haven't seen each other for 30 years, and suddenly, la la la, there it is, 2, 3, 4. I think the fact it kept falling apart and we were going, there's a lot of that. What happened there? In fact, we were trying to work out Little Blue-Eyed Lady, the front piece, and can't remember whether Rick played any guitar on it or any lead guitar on it. And I think he worked out, and we must have done dubs between myself and Alan, but can't really work it out properly other than how it was written, you know.
So, even if it was only for a couple of nights, do you think you'll ever make it to a stage?
I think there's a strong possibility, yeah. I'm perhaps a little more realist than some people. And I think Alan sees this too. It isn't going to be like Take That, Getting Back Together, you know, multiple. Maybe it would have been if we hadn't done anything since, but I've never seen Status Quo as that kind of. It's not Floyd, it's not the Beatles, it's not those kind of acts, whatever go, whether it's that American thing that makes it, it's never going to be that. However, it's very special to some people, and I don't see why we couldn't be able to do 2 or 3 Hammersmiths perhaps. I don't know. It might be fun. I don't know.
Okay.
He's run out of questions. I've got loads of bloody answers. He's forgotten, look, they're everywhere.
Run out of questions. Again, we talked to Rick about a few things the other day. What about the cocaine thing and the addiction?
Fantastic. Sorry, mate.
About the addiction side, because let me give you. I know you're sick of my devil's advocate shite, but here we go with one more. I've during my time in the business, I've lost a couple of good friends who were heroin addicts, and obviously after that crap, 2 or 3 times, and suddenly you would sell your grandmother just to get someone.
Lucky I never ventured there. Yeah.
I've been on the old band stuff and done 30 days on the road with a band. Come home, got up the next morning, and then the first thought on my mind has not been let's get some powder. It might be let's go in the office or let's do blah blah blah. So what puts you in the mindset where suddenly it really is an everyday thing?
I have a very addictive personality, and it's a plus and a negative. I work out every day, as you saw here, and I'll do that twice a day, and if I don't, I get the hump because over the years growing up, I've heard people commit to something, and it usually is one of those. My first wife, poor woman, she would always have this thing at Christmas at the end. Oh, loads of people do. They're going to set a New Year's resolution, and most of it doesn't happen by the 3rd week of January. You haven't done it, and you've let yourself down again. So you just keep going. So I find that I will do that exercise. I will practice X hours a day. I'll eat at a particular time, and and I go to the gym, and the same with that. What was the question?
With the coke.
Yeah, so once I'd started with the coke, there was no way I was going to do it, I couldn't stand anything near my nose. Someone said, try it one day. Rick and I had seen to this different place. I remember it in Canada, and we both sat around this swimming pool in the evening waiting for... Anything? No. Apart from that dreadful sensation, brings us back to Phil Lynott, doesn't it? This dad is broken down, this dad... And as I said, I have this addictive. I know that I was feeling quite good if I didn't have a toot before I got in the shower. So I'd be doing quite well. Rick would be the kind of person, and most people are. They'll do it in the evening and do shitloads. So I'll end up just doing it constantly. So. And oh no, that was horrendous. I don't want to go there again. It was horrible. But at the time, you think it's all right. Plus the entire industry. We went for when the Brits was a really uncool place to be before they go to Capital Radio to promo it and make it hip. Sorry about that thing. And we were at the Grove, I think it was the Grosvenor House, having one of those lunches you have to go to, you know. And we're all sitting there, and this food's coming out, looked like it was painted on the plates about 6 hours early, and it's only 11 or 12 o'clock now. You think there's too much food, how could they do this? And so you can't have a toot, and you go down the loo, you know. And I think in the thing, there's probably 20, 25 doors, you know, for the poo-poos, and the pissoir here. Nobody in the pissoir tried that one. No, every single one of them was blocked. And everybody, when anybody came out, 2 people came out of each one. No one was doing anything. There was no flushing going on, and no one was eating anything. I found that one of the most ridiculous things I've ever been to. But and as Rick said, everyone just talks. You just talk bollocks, complete and utter. Worse than alcohol. That's a fight. I'm not sure. But you do think, and once I'd started, it's interesting because some years later, it was only a few years ago, got really ill somewhere. This is the woman whose baby kissed me. And I couldn't get right. And this doctor, they send out regular doctors, then the insurance company send out these donkey's knob people, and they think that means very, very good, apparently. I love that. I've got the best doctor on the planet. No, so all the rest of them are shit. And they sent him out. He's a really nice man. He'd been to see Jagger somewhere down in Monaco or somewhere, and up to see me. And then he said, I think you better go on a steroid. I said, oh, and I know they're not very good. So you start off so many a day, and you eventually have to wean off one at a time. And I remember getting home, finishing the tour, went home. It was Christmas morning, or Christmas Eve was the last one. He'd gone down to 6 a day and so on. And I sat there Christmas morning in my music room on my own. And it was just like being, I need some Coke. It was exactly the same vibe. Can I phone, do I know a doctor? Can I just have one? And that's when I found that was what that was like. Once it got you, it was very hard to... However, we went and made an album, and I just thought, well, I won't do any toot until the night before a day off. And I'd had this wonderful routine together where I thought, well, I don't fancy doing that this evening. I'll have my bowl of cornflakes and watch the news from America or whatever it was I was doing, then go to bed. And I think that's another thing when people are trying to give up things. We white knuckle, you just go, then don't. So, well, I'm going to have one, I'll have one later. And that's what got me to give up cocaine. I'll do it next time, 2 or 3 days' time. I'll do it a couple of days' time. I'll do it a couple of days' time. And in the end, I didn't want to do it. So that was quids in, which is why I did this TV. This is October 2013. A year ago, I did some TV with this Joe Wiley thing, and I keep forgetting that where I am. I did the cotton bud trick through the nose. And the main reason I do that, apart from it makes Rick throw up, is that there are many young people out there that it will put off. There's one guy, oddly enough, from the News of the World some years ago came and said, would you show this? And it was a 13-year-old boy there. He said, just show him that. Show him that. So I did, and then about 3 or 4 years later, the guy sent me, somehow I got a message, and he thanked me for doing it, because this... So I felt quite good that this one kid, because there's so many of us, and we still talk about it, even in certain circles, like, oh yeah, the old coke is great, and no, it's not. It's just bollocks. Of course you'll say, yeah. There was a person that was on our crew, and he decided he was giving it up. And he said he never had so many people say, Al, no, go on. He said when he desperately needed it, would you put us in, as an expression we use, put us in, haven't got any. As soon as he gave it up, no, go on, try. And plus, nobody ever said to you, buy this, it's pretty average. They all said, I tell you what, wait till you try this. And then you did, and your fucking nose flew out, and there you go. My nose went down the sink.